Sup pirates, you filthy pirate here, and today we're going to be going over just a few quick suggestions to help you, the controller player, find more success in PvP encounters. To start off, I just want to say that this will not be a loadout suggestion video, nor is it a PvP strategy video. Neither of those are something that someone else can really dictate to you, the player. What you should use and how you should use it really varies person to person, and there's not one single playstyle that will work for everyone. Some players are hyper-aggressive rushers who do well up close and personal. Others are better at keeping a distance and using their aiming accuracy to be effective, and others are a combination or somewhere in between. No, instead, this video will be kept simple. The tips, suggestions, and settings changes mentioned here are meant to help you improve in the playstyle and with the weapons that you already like and have had success with. Implementing these changes into your gameplay will require a little getting used to and maybe a little relearning of your muscle memory. But over time, I believe that you will find that you are killing far more players than before and finding yourself in the ferry far less. And maybe you'll even be able to keep up with the PC players on PC servers, should you decide to go into those from time to time. Before we get started with the specific tips and changes, keep in mind that each of these pieces of advice are aimed at improving your PvP in three important ways: saving you time, improving your tracking, and avoiding enemy shots and strikes. First three setting changes mentioned here require some rebinding of your buttons. Ideally, you'll have a controller that has some type of paddles or buttons on the rear, such as the Elite controller, but it's not completely necessary. So we'll get into these, go over them, explain them, and at the end I'll show a couple clips and how these can be implemented, or at least how I implement them into my fights. My very first tip is going to be to bind yourself a dedicated fruit button. This is going to be for a couple reasons. First, and obviously, once you're in a fight, you get hit, having a dedicated fruit button will allow you to get healed up quicker so you can get back into the fight. Instead of having to go to the item radial and select, hold LB if that's what you're using default controls, pushing up and selecting the fruit, you can just hit one button, bam, you got your fruit right there, you healed up, you're ready to go back in the fight. The second, and arguably more important reason to have a dedicated fruit button is that you can cycle through the fruit that you have in your inventory so you can select the correct fruit for the amount of health that's missing. You don't want to be down 10-15% health and be forced to eat a pineapple just so you can get back into the fight. Without having a dedicated fruit button, the only other way to select a particular fruit that you want is to actually go into the start menu, into your inventory, and then select the fruit from there. And you're going to be dead at that point. So this is pretty much the only option if you want to be able to select the fruit that is appropriate for the amount of health missing. The second tip, and it's a close second, it could even be argued this is more important than the fruit button, is to bind yourself a jump button other than A jump button that does not require you to remove your right thumb from the right thumbstick. This is, obviously because you need to be able to jump while maintaining your tracking, while continue aiming on this game. If you've been in PvP fights, you know that it's pretty much just a bunch of jumping around left and right trying to dodge shots, and then at the same time trying to land your shots. But this is good. This is good for several reasons. You can maintain dodging enemy fire, and you allow yourself to keep your opponent in center of your screen, so your shots remain accurate. Especially if you run pistol and blunderbuss, or pistol or blunderbuss, I should say, you'll be blind firing a lot. This is what those two weapons are really good at, is blind firing. But even if you run eye of reach, quick scoping is not that hard in this game. If you want to know more about that, just search Sea of Thieves Sniper Quick Scope or Sea of Thieves Eye of Reach Quick Scope. Plenty of videos out there for that. I won't be going over it right here, but it's really not that hard. And also, if you prefer sword like I do, if you can see here that when you're holding the block button, which blocking is very important in sword fighting. If you don't know that, also you need to research that. But when you're holding the block button, you can move left and right much easier and much quicker by jumping than just simply moving left and right. But you also need to be able to keep your tracking while you're jumping if you're going to be doing this. The third tip is to just simply increase your field of view, increase your FOV. There is almost no reason not to. Default is 78, as you can see here. Crank it up to maximum. I suppose that if you maybe not have a very good PC, it could hinder performance. I've never noticed a difference on console or PC, and that goes back to the original Xbox One, which is what I played on for the first year or so of this game. I've never noticed a dip in performance at all. And this is huge. This is huge, especially for tracking. This allows you to see way more on your screen than default. You can see here, if you look on the left side of the screen, you see the light, the little lantern. So if I go to default, that pretty much goes away. Now, obviously, this is just one small example, but apply that to your entire session that you're on this game. And how many little things you could miss, how many people sneaking up on your boat from the water when you're in a PvP fight, when there's no auto aim on this game. So when someone goes left or right off your screen, it could be difficult to keep up with where they went. And if you got that extra inch of vision on either side where you can see where your opponent went, that's huge. The next tip is to simply find your sensitivity. If you've played FPS, first-person shooter games in the past, you already know how important this is, but you really got to play with it sometimes to figure out what works for you. Default may be the best option for you, or it could be a little bit lower, it could be a little bit higher. If you find that you are able to land a lot of your shots and strikes, bet that maybe you're losing your enemy a lot as they go left and right and maybe jump over you and get behind you, you may want to increase it just a little bit. You don't have to do a lot at once. Just do half a digit at a time until you get used to it, and go from there until maybe it gets too much, or you find your number. On the other hand, if you find yourself missing shots a lot, whether you're aiming down sights or using center screen blind fire aiming, turn it down a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. You may hear some people say that higher sensitivity is always better. I'm not a believer in that at all. Everybody's different. Everybody's play style is different. Everybody and their capabilities are just different. So if you're missing a lot of your shots, just tune it down a little bit. Maybe go 2.5, 2.0. Heck, as low as you can. And then you can always work back up. But finding your sensitivity is hugely important, especially on a game like this that does not have auto aim. I'm going to throw a little bonus tip here at the end. It's nothing huge. If you've been playing on controller for a while, you probably already know what it is, even if you don't know the name of it, and that's the claw grip. The claw grip is simply moving your right index finger down off the shoulder buttons or the trigger, depending on how you play, to hit the face buttons, either A, X, B, or Y. Kind of similar to having a jump button that is not A. It allows you to perform certain actions while not having to remove your right thumb off the right thumbstick. So in this game, this is primarily going to be useful in dropping the enemy anchor. So if you're in a fight with an enemy, you board the enemy ship, you're 90% of the time you're going to sprint straight for the anchor. But the problem is, a lot of people run into is once you get up to the anchor, you kind of sit still as you get that prompt to hit X to drop the anchor. You take your right thumb off the right thumbstick to hold X with your right thumb. And then you can resume moving. The problem is as you're sitting there waiting on the anchor to actually start dropping, you're kind of a sitting duck. You can get shot with the eye reach pretty easily from a crew member on the ship. Someone could walk up to you and put a blunderbuss in your back and pull the trigger, and then you're dead. They catch the anchor, and that was pretty much a waste of time. So as you can see here, using the claw grip allows you to continue moving around the anchor while you hold the X button, waiting on the anchor to actually drop, preventing you from being a sitting duck. All right, we'll get into a couple clips here just so you can see all these tips in action. In this particular scenario, I was solo sloop. Two other sloops got after me. I jumped off the back of mine, boarded this one, laid shots into the other one, waiting on these guys to spawn up. There he is. Notice I continuously jump around while keeping him center screen. Chase him down, leads to the quick blunder kill. Almost ate the pineapple, switched to the shark meat. Here's his teammate. Almost screwed myself right there. block his shots. Now notice right here, jump around, keep him center screen while continuously hitting him with the sword, which leads to the kill and eventually them sinking. Alright, another little clip here. My wife and I on a sloop. Brig coming directly for us. I performed a admittedly terrible board here. Jumped right in the open and came out the water too early. Anyway, come here, use a claw grip, keep moving around the anchor as I hit it. Quick sword swing. These guys are kind of clueless. You know, jumping around, keeping aim in center. That guy, I'm very lucky right there. That guy didn't one-piece me. But that's going to be it for me. Go ahead and follow me on Twitch and TikTok if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.